Well, another strong quarter from NVIDIA, bucking recent fears of an AI bubble. It reported record revenue for the third quarter and stronger than expected guidance. Our revenue came in at $57 billion, beating the $54.9 billion estimate. Earnings per share was at $1.30, also more than expected. And for the current period, it expects $65 billion in sales, higher than the street's estimate of $61.7 billion. Investors are giving the stock a boost, now up more than 5% in after-hours trade. And for more on NVIDIA's latest earnings, we have Sarah Caldi. Sarah, investors, of course, cheering the earnings report.
Yeah, because Liz, this in some ways goes against those AI bubble fears, because there were concerns that, stocks and market exuberance, that they were going beyond fundamentals, and that the strong growth that we've been seeing from NVIDIA over the past few years is not sustainable. Now, the CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he said that Blackwell, which is their most advanced AI chips, sales of that chips, they're off the charts, and cloud GPUs, they are sold out. Now, this builds on what he said last month, where the company is looking at $500 billion of revenue over the next coming quarters, and that really shocked analysts. Now, today at the earnings call, we heard from the CFO, and she said that $500 billion, they could even go past that number. So it really shows just how much money is being poured into these chips in AI. And in the earnings call, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, he himself pushed back against those AI bubble fears. And he gave three reasons. He said, well, AI is changing existing work. Generative AI is creating new workloads, and AI is now moving into the physical world.
All right, Sarah, thanks for that snapshot. I think we can take a closer look now at NVIDIA's earnings. We have Melissa Otto, head of Visible Alpha Research, S&P Global. So, Melissa, thanks for your time today. Thanks for joining us here in the studio. Just some key points from the earnings. I mean, do the latest figures on earnings, revenue, and guidance kind of narrow the gap for you there between market enthusiasm and the company's near-term fundamentals?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here in Singapore. It's wonderful to be here. Absolutely. I mean, for the Q3, absolutely, the company delivered a better than expected earnings result from both the top line and a bottom line perspective. Looking out to the outlook, based on Visible Alpha consensus, they beat the revenue guidance by over $2 billion. Now, the big question for next year is going to be the margin. For the second half, we see around 75 to 76% gross margin for the data center revenues. Going into next year, the consensus is 76.3%. Are they going to maintain that margin with all this brouhaha? Now, based on the demand out there, I would say there's probably some high likelihood that they're going to meet or exceed those expectations, but all eyes are going to be on that profitability.
Yeah, and this really comes at a time when there are concerns of an AI bubble, and margins, of course, is something that analysts are watching very closely. That stayed kind of stable for this quarter. Are you seeing signs of an AI bubble?
How do we define a bubble? I mean, what does that even mean? Now, when I think about a bubble, I think about like the Japanese bubble in the 80s or the internet bubble in around 2000, and there was so much debt. These companies were very levered. And what I see now, I don't see a lot of debt. I see companies leveraging their cash flow. These are very rich, very profitable companies investing in AI infrastructure to build that next generation of foundation that's ultimately going to give us that compute power and take us to AI. So I think when we do start to see significant levels of leverage come into this whole industry, perhaps at that time, then maybe I would be a bit more worried.
Yeah, and this $500 billion amount that was put forward, and really just a big shock for many. I mean, that's massive. But there are fears, too, that these very expensive chips could become obsolete really quickly. Is that a concern for you?
It's something that we're watching, but it's an arms race at the moment. What do? It's like, okay, these are the chips that are available. So you have to kind of take advantage of the compute power that they can provide and then move on. Now, think about your iPhone. Do you still have an iPhone 3?
Nobody
Probably
does
not. You
that, yeah.
upgraded, right? So I think my sense is it's probably the same thing.
Right.
Right. I just want to move on to China. NVIDIA is saying that it is disappointed with regulatory barriers preventing it from shipping those advanced chips to China. How significant are these restrictions for NVIDIA, especially in its long-term growth outlook, given the size and the pace of adoption in China?
I think China, the market in general, has just said, okay, this is not going to be a market that they can really focus on at the moment. And I think they've just pivoted away from it. The core focus is on other markets.
Yeah, and speaking of other markets, I think we got some idea of what there could be. The U.S. authorizing the export of advanced American semiconductors equivalent to 35,000 Blackwell chips to two companies in Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And given heightened geopolitical tensions, around those advanced chips, I mean, what risks or precedents do you see in granting access to such high-end semiconductors to, Gulf-backed AI companies?
I mean, the Middle East in general has been very focused on diversifying their economies. And this is also an example of a place that has the cash flow to support building out this infrastructure. They also have the energy and the climate to support data centers and move them to accelerated computing in a very natural way. So it makes sense that they would be focused on this.
Speaking of, the energy and all that, another focus for the market is not just on demand. I mean, demand is there. Supply, they're working on it. But what about the infrastructure around these data centers? Do we have enough power, grid access, land even? How much of a bottleneck is this?
It's a great question because, I mean, are we all going to be, basically working by candlelight, but with AI?
With an AI brain.
Exactly. Right now, based on estimates, we're about 2% of U.S. grid energy is going towards AI. And that number is actually projected to go to 20% by 2030. So that's a 10x increase. So I think, we're looking at a couple of different things. The next generation chips are intended to optimize energy consumption and accelerate compute. So that's one thing. They may not actually use as much energy and